Hi everyone, I'm Melanie, Ensign, founder and CEO of Discernible. Discernible is a specialized communications consultancy dedicated specifically to security and privacy organizations. Previously, I led security, privacy, and engineering communications at Uber. My goal today is to help you expand your role as a privacy practitioner beyond compliance. Build the influence you need to get things done inside your organization and reduce your reliance on regulatory hammers to get things done. Because my long-term goal is to create a legion of ambitious, no bullshit privacy professionals who can masterfully navigate the halls of business to bring greater respect for human impact and consequences to the companies and organizations that we work for. Or perhaps we'll create new ones and grow even more influence. You see, if we're influential as individual professionals, we can collectively elevate the practice of privacy to become more influential over business. To get started, let's spend just a few minutes thinking about what your current role is. Think about what you were hired for versus what you actually do versus what you would like to do that you're not yet doing. No matter where you are in your career, the next phase will require you to think creatively about your individual role as well as the role of the privacy function, which likely includes other people. Keep in mind that whether you have a leadership title or not, you can have impact on others and the organizations around you, but you must consciously choose to exercise your abilities, skills, and knowledge to make a difference. And to do this, you will need influence. You need to be able to get people to care, pay attention, and take action on what you say. Remember that people will do things for their own reasons, not necessarily yours. So to be effective, you need to know how to motivate them. Now, one of the things I've observed over the years working with privacy professionals from all different kinds of disciplines, organizations, and backgrounds is that relying on regulatory hammers to influence others inside your organization actually has diminishing returns. You might be able to temporarily spin up certain people or teams with a looming regulatory deadline. But once the deadline is passed, so is your influence. And in some cases, compliance isn't even enough to motivate teams that don't share in the consequences of non-compliance. Again, people do things for their own reasons. This isn't to mean that laws and regulations in general can't have profound and lasting impact on an industry over time. They certainly can. The context I'm talking about here is the ability to motivate other people or other teams within your organization to care about privacy and invest in your program even when Big Brother isn't breathing down their necks. In fact, real influence for privacy lies in moving organizations from compliance to commitment. I hear privacy professionals all the time talk about various departments or clients asking for the bare minimum requirements or holding resentment against compliance mandates and privacy teams for pulling resources from other projects or for being a perpetual buzzkill. I've seen product and engineering roadmaps get completely derailed anywhere from 6 to 18 months by urgent, yet usually vague, compliance needs. And trust me, that pisses off everyone. Advancement in these particular organizations usually depends on shipping new and innovative projects. If you're only engaging with them on internal compliance needs, you could be holding back their career goals and they will be less keen to help you again. Instead, approaching privacy requirements from the perspective of creative or innovative problem solving gives other cross-functional partners something exciting to include in a performance review or to a calibration committee for promotion. Remember, people do things for their own reasons. So to get what you want for your privacy role and program, you must be able to deliver the kind of opportunities other people need. The truth is, no one can fake enthusiasm for privacy forever, even when faced with regulatory mandates. And eventually they will tire of the facade and slip into bad behavior. And your role is now that of the babysitter, which doesn't elevate you or the function of privacy. But even more importantly, cultures of compliance seldom, if ever, take initiative. They're not very creative and rarely think outside the box. If you want to step into the next phase of your career, you will need innovative and creative programs to get there. You cannot afford to settle for a compliance mindset or to let your organization settle for one either. Privacy must become more than compliance for everyone involved, and you must be the one driving that culture. If you don't, you will find engineers rotating off of privacy projects to get away from compliance work in order to contribute to something they find more interesting or exciting. If privacy isn't yet considered one of the most interesting technical challenges for engineers at your organization, you will be swimming upstream a lot in terms of securing financial and engineering resources, cooperation from partners, and recognition from senior management. So how do you know whether or not you already have influence? Here are a few questions to help you determine whether or not you do. If you don't, you need to start building it. If you already have some influence, then your next step is to grow and exert it productively in order to achieve your goals. Now, a few things to note as we move into the next section of our discussion. Getting to the table isn't the same as having a voice at the table. Our goal here is to give you, and by extension, the privacy function, a voice in the decision-making process. So we actually need both an invite to the table and the opportunity for you to speak. That distinction is important when determining your current level of influence. Also, keep in mind that building influence typically works its way up one level at a time. Sometimes you can start at the top depending on your position and existing relationships, but it's also important to recognize when peer relationships can help you build influence with other leaders outside of your reporting chain. And the next thing to keep in mind is that you want to be at the right table based on the decisions and people you want to influence. Here are a few questions to consider for identifying the tables you need to be at and where you might be able to exert influence based on your goals. If you've ever taken a negotiation or conflict mediation training, you might recognize some similar themes. That's because you can never get something for nothing. Compromised, shared outcomes, and collaboration are the name of the game. An important note here in regards to internal politics is that the higher up you go in an organization, the more competition and the more voices there are. In order for you to punch through, you will have to constantly deliver maximum value as a strategic advisor. So what exactly does a strategic advisor in privacy do? First, you must be relentless about demonstrating business value. Even when revenue isn't an option for your privacy program, look at profits and the bottom line. Are you able to decrease the cost of demonstrating compliance or the time required to secure new business deals? Privacy teams should think about conducting their own market research to study external reports, dig into brand perception, gather stakeholder feedback from external facing teams like your customer support organization, business development, public policy, etc., and find out where subpar privacy practices are creating friction for your business so that you, as a privacy team, can help fix it. This is yet another great opportunity to collaborate with other teams for maximum and reportable impact. A deep understanding of tooling is also critical for building influence for privacy because it's the starting point for internal and external audits as well as customer assessments. Once you understand what tooling is already being used by your internal stakeholders, you can explore whether privacy benefits could be gained by borrowing those same tools. For example, some InfoSec tools can also be used as privacy controls. Some site reliability tools can be very helpful in measuring performance and impact of new privacy infrastructure, such as decreases in downtime or latency. It's an opportunity to engage teams where they already are, learn about their values and processes, what they consider to be success, while potentially reducing costs and developing well-rounded cross-functional results. This exponentially increases the scope and impact of your privacy program and the results you'll have available to report to business leaders. Improving data quality and reducing complexity are universal peace offerings for cross-functional teams. So don't overlook these opportunities for privacy to collaborate on these goals, or better yet, lead them. Now, a lot of emphasis is put on writing within the privacy industry, especially in technical and legal disciplines. But verbal skills are even more important when it comes to exerting influence in real time over other teams. You need to be able to articulate your long-term vision in the language of each stakeholder. And be prepared to demonstrate progress on that vision within 12 months to gain confidence from other teams. And be ready to show and communicate continuous improvement throughout the life cycle of your program. Risk acceptance should expire at some point and be evaluated again. Things can change quickly or drastically, and the risk tolerance of your organization, your regulators, and your customers evolves over time. If you're persuaded to accept privacy risk for any reason, give it an expiration date with the appropriate team and set a reminder to revisit that decision in the future. And finally, when the business makes a decision against your guidance as a privacy professional, document it. If shit hits the fan, receipts are helpful for accountability and in diagnosing underlying issues. This doesn't need to be an angry or resentful endeavor. That is not what I'm suggesting at all. Keep it factual and focused on the risks and opportunities that you advise to the team. So let's say hypothetically you're already at the table that you need to be at to create the privacy role and function that you want. How do you use your voice effectively? Here are a few tips for giving influential advice. Make sure you fully understand the situation and perspective of the person asking for your help. Follow up with deliverables or materials you recommend to help inform their decision. I see a lot of practitioners missing opportunities to influence by only sharing opinions during scheduled meetings, but not doing post-meeting work to ensure that decision makers have everything that they need. Keep in mind that advisors are often expected to give useful advice on the spot, especially with senior leadership. So be sure you can deliver refined, concentrated ideas and information directly and concisely to power up those relationships. And finally, a few notes on advising senior leaders, both within or outside your own reporting chain. Remember, the goal here is to be called in early and asked to stay longer, because that's how you shape the scope and direction of your role and the privacy function. I recommend delivering 3 doable options. Have these in your back pocket. That is the mark of an expert advisor. One of those options can be to do nothing, but you should talk about that first before any of the lawyers do, because discussions that start with legal arguments for doing nothing often stop there. But your best recommendation from a privacy perspective may actually be something else, like doing something more. Doing something more means going above and beyond bare minimum requirements, which is something we often discuss as privacy professionals. How can we elevate the practice as a business opportunity or brand differentiator? The answer is by doing something more. Thank you so much for your time today. I look forward to discussing your questions in the live Q&A.